The fluorescent lights in the basement hallway of Sterling Tower flickered at 2:47 a.m., casting shadows that danced across the linoleum floor. Emma Cole pushed her cleaning cart forward, the squeaky wheel echoing through the empty corridor. Her back ached from 6 hours of scrubbing toilets, emptying trash bins, and mopping floors that executives walked across without ever seeing her face. She was invisible. That was the job. Clean while they slept, disappear before they arrived, exist in the gaps between their important lives. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Emma's reflection caught in the polished elevator doors as she passed. 28 years old, but tonight she looked 40. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, her green eyes shadowed with exhaustion. The janitorial uniform hung loose on her frame. She'd lost weight this month, again, because groceries cost money, and her landlord didn't accept excuses about eating. The cart's wheel caught on something and Emma jerked to a stop. She looked down. A small pink hair tie, the kind with plastic beads shaped like hearts. Some executive's daughter had probably been here after school, waiting for her parent to finish work. Emma picked it up, turned it over in her fingers. The beads caught the fluorescent light. She remembered having hair ties like this when she was young, before everything fell apart. She dropped it in the lost and found box on her cart and kept moving. Section C, 3. Medical offices. 2 more floors after this. Then she could go home to her studio apartment in Queens, collapse on her second-hand mattress, and sleep for exactly 4 hours before her morning shift at the diner started. This was life now. 2 jobs, 16-hour days, surviving on coffee and determination. No family, no safety net, no backup plan. Just her, alone, one missed paycheck away from eviction. Emma unlocked the door to Dr. Morrison's pediatric cardiology office and flipped on the lights. The waiting room was designed to comfort children with its bright murals of cartoon animals and low tables covered in toys. It always made Emma's chest tight. She'd never have children. How could she? She could barely take care of herself. She was emptying the trash when she heard it. A sound that didn't belong in an empty building at 3 a.m. Crying. Emma froze, her hand still gripping the trash bag. The sound came again, small and frightened. A child's voice, muffled, coming from somewhere nearby. Her first thought was that she was hearing things. Sleep deprivation played tricks. But no, there it was again. Definitely real. Definitely a child. Emma abandoned her cart and followed the sound down the hallway. Past Dr. Morrison's office, past the consultation rooms, toward the emergency stairwell at the end of the corridor. The crying grew louder. Emma pushed open the stairwell door. The concrete space smelled like dust and cold air. Emergency lighting cast everything in harsh white. And there, huddled on the landing between floors, was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Dark curls tangled around her face. A blue dress, expensive looking, torn at the shoulder. Her small hands clutched her chest as she gasped for air, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Oh my God!" Emma rushed forward, dropping to her knees beside the child. "Sweetie, are you okay? What happened?" The girl looked up at her with wide, terrified eyes. Her lips had a bluish tint. Her breathing came in short, desperate pants. Emma's mind raced. This wasn't fear. This was medical. "Can you tell me your name?" Emma asked, forcing her voice to stay calm even as her heart hammered against her ribs. Sophia." The girl managed between gasps. "Can't. Breathe. Okay, Sophia. I've got you." Emma's hands shook as she assessed the situation. Bluish lips, rapid breathing, clutching her chest. She'd seen this before, years ago, when her mother was still alive and working as a nurse. Cardiac distress. "Do you have any medical conditions? Heart problems?" Emma asked urgently. Sophia nodded, fresh tears spilling. "My heart," Papa said. "Always. Medicine. Where's your medicine, sweetheart?" "Lost. The bag." Sophia's breathing was getting worse. Her small body trembled. "Papa. Need Papa." Emma's mind went into crisis mode. She had maybe minutes before this child went into full cardiac arrest. The medical offices were locked. Even if she broke in, she didn't know which medication Sophia needed or what dosage. She needed help. Now. Emma grabbed her phone from her pocket. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped it. She dialed 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" "I have a child in cardiac distress at Sterling Tower, basement level, near the medical offices. She's 8 years old, has a pre-existing heart condition, and her medication is missing." She's cyanotic and her breathing is deteriorating fast. The operator's voice became sharp, focused. Ambulance is dispatched. Stay on the line. What's your name? Emma Cole. I'm a janitor here. Please hurry. Emma, I need you to keep her calm. Keep her talking if you can. Don't let her lie down flat. Emma set the phone on speaker and turned back to Sophia. The little girl's eyes were starting to roll back. Her breathing had become shallow, desperate gasps. No, no, no. Emma pulled Sophia against her, supporting her in a semi-upright position. Stay with me, Sophia. Look at me, sweetie. Keep your eyes open. Sophia's small hand gripped Emma's uniform. Scared. I know. I'm scared too. But help is coming. Emma's voice cracked. Tell me about your papa. Is he nice? The best. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. Reads. Stories. Every night. That sounds wonderful. What's your favorite story? Princess. Garden. Sophia's eyes fluttered. Hey, stay with me. Emma held her tighter, one hand pressed against the child's chest, feeling the rapid, irregular heartbeat beneath her palm. Tell me about the garden. What's in the garden? Roses. Sophia's breathing hitched. Red, Papa says. Red like my heart. Emma's vision blurred with tears. This child was dying in her arms, in a stairwell, alone except for a janitor who couldn't do anything but hold her. Your papa loves you very much, Emma whispered. And he's going to see you again, I promise. She didn't know if she could keep that promise, but she said it anyway, fierce and desperate, as if saying it could make it true. Sophia's hand went slack in Emma's grip. No, Sophia. Emma shook her gently. Stay with me, please. The little girl's eyes opened slightly. So much trust in that gaze. She thought Emma could save her. Emma didn't know what else to do, so she did the only thing she could. She started singing. It was an old lullaby her mother used to sing, back when Emma was young and the world still made sense. Her voice shook, tears running down her face, but she kept singing. Hush now, my darling, the moon's shining bright. Stars watch above you, throughout the night. Sophia's erratic heartbeat pressed against Emma's palm. The child's breathing remained shallow, but her eyes stayed on Emma's face. Listening, holding on. Sleep now, my darling, tomorrow will come. Morning brings sunshine, and you are my sun. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work, so if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Emma heard sirens in the distance, getting closer. Please hurry, she prayed. Please. You are my son, she sang again, rocking Sophia gently. You are my son. The stairwell door burst open. Paramedics flooded in, professional and efficient. They had equipment, oxygen, things Emma didn't understand but desperately hoped would work. Step back, ma'am. Emma didn't want to let go. Her arms tightened around Sophia instinctively. Ma'am, we need to help her. Emma forced herself to release the child. The paramedics moved in immediately, checking vitals, administering oxygen, starting an IV line. Their voices were calm, clinical, discussing medications and protocols. Emma stumbled back against the wall, her legs suddenly weak. Her uniform was wet with tears she didn't remember crying. Her hands shook violently. One of the paramedics, a woman with kind eyes, glanced at Emma. You did good. Keeping her calm, keeping her upright, that probably saved her life. Emma couldn't respond. She watched them lift Sophia onto a stretcher, secure the oxygen mask, prepare to transport. Sophia's eyes found Emma through the chaos. Her small hand reached out. Emma moved without thinking, taking that tiny hand in hers. You're going to be okay, she said, her voice raw. Your papa will be so proud of how brave you were. Thank you, Sophia whispered behind the oxygen mask. Then they were moving, carrying the stretcher up the stairs, voices echoing, equipment rattling. Emma followed, still holding Sophia's hand until the last possible second. At the ambulance, they had to separate. Emma stood on the sidewalk, watching the doors close, watching the vehicle speed away with lights flashing and sirens wailing into the New York night. She was alone again. The street was empty. The city was silent. Emma looked down at her hands. They were still shaking. She could still feel Sophia's heartbeat against her palm, that fragile rhythm fighting to keep going. A security guard from Sterling Tower appeared beside her. Ma'am, the police need a statement. Emma nodded numbly. Of course they did. There would be questions, reports, paperwork, but all she could think about was that little girl's face, the trust in her eyes, the way she'd said thank you, as if Emma had done something heroic. Emma had just been there, just a janitor in the wrong place at the wrong time, or maybe the right place at the right time. She gave her statement to the police officer who arrived, described finding Sophia, calling 911, keeping her calm until help arrived. The officer took notes, asked for her contact information, thanked her for her quick thinking. "Do you know anything about her family?" Emma asked. "Her father?" The officer glanced at his notes. "Sophia Marcetti. That's all we got from her medical bracelet. We're trying to locate the parents now." "Marcetti." Emma turned the name over in her mind. It sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. "Can you tell me which hospital they took her to?" "Mount Sinai." "But ma'am, unless you're family, I just want to know she's okay." Emma's voice broke. "Please." The officer's expression softened. "I'll let you know when we have an update. You did a good thing tonight." Emma walked back into Sterling Tower to collect her cleaning cart. Her supervisor would want to know why she'd abandoned her route. There would be forms, incident reports, possibly disciplinary action. She didn't care. All she could see was Sophia's face. All she could feel was that desperate heartbeat against her palm. All she could hear was that small voice saying, "Papa." Emma finished her shift mechanically, moving through the motions. Her mind was elsewhere, in an ambulance racing through the city, in a hospital emergency room, with a little girl who trusted a stranger to save her. At 6 a.m., as Emma clocked out, her supervisor called her into the office. "Incident report," he said, sliding papers across the desk. "Police say you handled it well. Company's pleased. Might even get a commendation." Emma signed the forms without reading them. "Is there any word about the girl?" "Not my department," he shrugged. "But she's alive, and that's because of you. Good work, Cole." Emma left the building as the sun rose over Manhattan. The city was waking up, people emerging for their morning commutes, coffee, shops opening, the world continuing like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Emma had held a dying child and refused to let her go, had sung to her, promised her everything would be okay, had meant it with every fiber of her being. She took the subway to Queens, exhausted beyond measure. She should sleep. Her shift at the diner started at 11. Instead, she sat on her bed, still in her uniform, staring at her phone. Mount Sinai Hospital. Emma pulled up the hospital's website, found the main number, hesitated. This was crazy. She wasn't family. She had no right to information. Sophia probably wouldn't even remember her. It had been a crisis, an emergency. Once the danger passed, Emma would just be a forgettable stranger. But Emma couldn't forget, couldn't stop seeing those eyes, feeling that heartbeat, hearing that small voice. She dialed the number. "Mount Sinai Hospital. How may I direct your call?" I'm calling about a patient. Sophia Marcetti. She was brought in early this morning with cardiac distress. I'm the person who found her and stayed with her until the ambulance arrived. I just want to know if she's okay." There was a pause. "Hold, please." Elevator music filled Emma's ear. She waited, heart pounding, exhausted and wired all at once. "Ma'am?" A different voice, older, more authoritative. "This is Nurse Patterson. You're the woman from Sterling Tower?" "Yes, Emma Cole. Is Sophia?" "She's stable. Critical, but stable. You saved her life, Miss Cole. Another few minutes and we would have lost her." Emma's eyes burned with fresh tears. Can I see her? Are you family?" "No. I was just there." Silence. Then, "Her father arrived about an hour ago. He's with her now. I can't give you access to her room, but I'll let him know you called." "Thank you." Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "Tell her. Tell Emma says she was the bravest girl in the world." She hung up before the nurse could respond, set her phone down, stared at the cracked ceiling of her studio apartment. Sophia was alive. That was enough. It had to be enough. Emma finally allowed herself to sleep. She dreamed of dark curls, blue lips, and a small hand reaching out in the darkness. Across the city, in a private room at Mount Sinai Hospital, Alessandro Marcetti sat beside his daughter's hospital bed and felt his world tilt on its axis. Sophia was alive. Barely, but alive. Monitors beeped steadily, tracking her heart rate, oxygen levels, all the numbers that told him she was still here. But she'd almost died. While he'd been in a meeting across town, his daughter had wandered off from her nanny at Sterling Tower where he owned the top 3 floors, had gotten lost, had gone into cardiac arrest, and a janitor had saved her. Alessandro didn't do gratitude. He did business. He did power. He controlled half the construction in New York, had connections that ran deep through City Hall, through the ports, through organizations that operated in shadows. People came to him asking for favors. He didn't ask for anything. But right now, looking at his daughter's small form in the hospital bed, he owed someone he'd never met, a debt he could never repay. Papa? Sophia's voice was weak, muffled by the oxygen mask. Alessandro leaned forward immediately, taking her hand gently. I'm here, Piccola. I'm here. The lady, Sophia whispered. The singing lady. Where is she? What lady, darling? She found me. When I was scared, she sang to me. Sophia's eyes drifted closed. Said you'd be proud. Alessandro's jaw tightened. He looked up at the nurse who'd just entered to check Sophia's vitals. The woman who found her, he said, his voice low and controlled. Who was she? A janitor at Sterling Tower, Emma Cole. The nurse adjusted Sophia's fore. She stayed with your daughter the entire time, kept her calm, probably prevented a full cardiac arrest. She called asking about Sophia's condition earlier. Find her. Alessandro's. The voice wasn't loud, but it carried absolute authority. I want her information. Address, phone number, everything. The nurse hesitated. Sir, I can't just give out. My daughter is alive because of this woman. Alessandro's eyes were cold, hard. I need to thank her properly. Make it happen. Within an hour, he had everything. Emma Cole, 28 years old, 2 jobs, no family, living alone in Queens, financial records that painted a picture of someone barely surviving. Alessandro stared at the file, at the photo from her employee badge at Sterling Tower. Dark hair pulled back, green eyes tired but kind. She looked young, looked fragile. She'd saved Sophia's life. He made a call. Marco, I need you to do something for me. His right-hand man responded immediately. Anything, boss. Find out everything about Emma Cole, and prepare a compensation package. Substantial. Life-changing. How substantial? Alessandro looked at his daughter, sleeping peacefully now, alive because a stranger had cared. Whatever it takes. He would find Emma Cole, he would repay this debt, and something in his gut, some instinct honed by years of reading people and situations, told him this was just the beginning. This janitor who'd held his daughter and sung to her in a dark stairwell had just stepped into his world, and Alessandro Marcetti never let go of what belonged to him. Emma was 3 hours into her diner shift when her life changed for the second time that week. The breakfast rush had died down, leaving only a handful of regulars nursing coffee and reading newspapers. Emma refilled cups mechanically, her body running on autopilot while her mind wandered back to Sophia. 2 days had passed since that night in the stairwell. 2 days of Emma checking her phone compulsively, hoping for news, getting nothing. She'd called the hospital twice more. Both times they'd told her the same thing. Sophia was stable, improving, and only family could receive updates. Emma should let it and go, should accept that she'd done her part and move on. But she couldn't stop seeing those eyes, couldn't stop feeling that fragile heartbeat, couldn't stop wondering if Sophia was okay, if she was scared, if she remembered the singing. Order up. The cook slid plates through the window. Emma grabbed them and delivered them to table 6. The customer didn't look up from his phone. She was invisible again. That was fine. Invisible was safe. She was clearing table 3 when the door chimed. Emma glanced up out of habit. 3 men walked in, not the usual crowd. These men wore suits that probably cost more than Emma's annual rent. They moved with a coordinated precision that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. The diner went quiet. Even the regulars felt it. That shift in atmosphere when predators entered a space full of prey. The men scanned the room. Their eyes landed on Emma. Then they walked directly toward her. Emma's heart started racing. Her hands tightened on the dirty dishes she was holding. Fight-or-flight instincts screamed at her to run, but her feet stayed rooted to the floor. The lead man stopped in front of her. He was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and a face that had seen things Emma couldn't imagine. His eyes were sharp, assessing. Emma Cole? His voice was surprisingly gentle. Who's asking? Emma's voice came out steadier than she felt. My name is Marco. I work for Alessandro Marcetti. He paused, watching her reaction. Sophia's father. The dishes in Emma's hands trembled. Is she okay? Did something happen? She's recovering well, thanks to you. Marco's expression softened slightly. Mr. Marcetti would like to meet you. To thank you personally for saving his daughter's life. Emma's boss, Jerry, appeared from the back office. Everything okay here? Fine, Emma said quickly. She looked back at Marco. I don't need thanks. I just did what anyone would do. No. Marco's voice was firm. You did what most people wouldn't. You risked yourself for a child you didn't know. Mr. Marcetti doesn't forget that kind of courage. I really don't need, he insists. Marco pulled out a business card, set it on the table beside her. He's waiting outside. Just 5 minutes of your time. Please. Emma looked at the card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. Alessandro Marcetti, CEO Marcetti Enterprises. Her hands were still shaking. I'm working. Take a break, Emma, Jerry called from behind the counter. He looked nervous, like he knew exactly who these men represented and didn't want trouble in his diner. Emma set down the dishes, untied her apron. Her mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. Rich men didn't send 3 suits to a queen's diner unless they wanted something. But Sophia, if this was about Sophia, if Emma could just see that she was really okay. 5 minutes, Emma said. Marco nodded and gestured toward the door. Outside, a black SUV idled at the curb. The windows were tinted so dark Emma couldn't see inside. One of the other men opened the rear door. Emma hesitated. Every survival instinct she had screamed that getting into that vehicle was a terrible idea. But then the door opened wider, and she saw him. Alessandro Marcetti sat in the back seat, and Emma understood immediately why people crossed the street when they saw him coming. He was beautiful in the way a knife was beautiful, sharp, dangerous, designed to cut. Dark hair touched with silver at the temples. A face that could have been carved from marble, all hard angles and aristocratic lines. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Emma had earned in the last 6 months. But it was his eyes that made Emma's breath catch. Dark, intense, and looking at her like she was the only person in the world. Miss Cole. His voice was deep, controlled, with an accent that spoke of old New York money and something else, something European. Please, I promise you're safe. Emma didn't believe that for a second, but she got in anyway. The door closed behind her. The SUV's interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Emma pressed herself against the opposite door, maintaining as much distance as possible in the confined space. Alessandro studied her with that same intense focus. Emma forced herself to meet his gaze, refusing to look away even though every cell in her body wanted to. Thank you for seeing me, he said finally. Your men didn't make it sound optional. A hint of something amusement? Respect? Flickered across his face. Fair. But you could have refused. You didn't. How's Sophia? Emma asked, cutting through whatever game this was. Alessandro's expression shifted, softened. For just a moment, he looked like any father whose child had nearly died. She's recovering. The doctors say another week in the hospital, then home with restrictions and careful monitoring. That's good. Emma's shoulders relaxed slightly. I'm glad she's okay. Because of you. Alessandro leaned forward slightly. The doctors said if you hadn't found her, if you hadn't kept her calm and upright, she would have died in that stairwell, alone, terrified. Emma's throat tightened. I just did what anyone. No. His voice cut through her words like a blade. Most people would have called 911 and waited. You held my daughter. You sang to her. You promised her she'd see me again. His jaw clenched. She told me everything. She was scared. I wanted her to know she wasn't alone. Alessandro stared at her like she'd said something profound. You gave her comfort when she was dying. You can't possibly understand what that means to me. I'm just glad I was there. So am I. He reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope. Thick, cream-colored, expensive. This is for you. Emma didn't take it. I don't want money. It's not about what you want. It's about what you're owed. I'm not owed anything. I didn't save Sophia for a reward. I know. Alessandro set the filing envelope on the seat between them. Which is exactly why you deserve it. Take it. Pay off debts. Quit one of your jobs. Give yourself room to breathe. Emma stared at the envelope. Part of her desperately wanted to take it. She was so tired, so broke, so close to falling apart. But accepting money from this man felt dangerous in ways she couldn't articulate. How much? She asked quietly. $50,000. Emma's head snapped up. Are you insane? My daughter's life is worth more than money can measure. Alessandro's voice was steady, absolute. 50,000 is nothing compared to what you gave me. I can't accept that. You can. You will. He pushed the envelope closer. And if you don't, I'll pay off your debts directly. Your landlord, your credit cards, your student loans, all of it. Emma's blood ran cold. How do you know about my debts? I know everything about you, Emma Cole. Alessandro's eyes never left hers. Where you live, where you work, what you eat for dinner. I know you're 2 months behind on rent. I know you haven't been to a doctor in 3 years because you can't afford insurance. I know you survive on coffee and determination. You investigated me? Emma's voice shook with anger now. You had no right. I had every right. His voice hardened. You saved my daughter. That makes you my responsibility now. I'm not your responsibility. I'm not your anything. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. You became mine the moment you held Sophia. Alessandro leaned back, his gaze still locked on Emma. Whether you accept it or not. Emma grabbed the door handle. This conversation is over. Emma. Something in his voice made her pause. Not a command. A request. Please, just listen. Against her better judgment, Emma stopped. Sophia asks about you every day. Alessandro said quietly. The singing lady. The kind woman. She wants to thank you. She wants to see you. Emma's resolve cracked. She remembers me? She remembers everything. Your voice, your smile, the way you held her. Alessandro's expression softened again. She's 8 years old and she nearly died. You were there. You made her feel safe. That's not something she'll forget. Emma closed her eyes, seeing Sophia again, knowing she was really okay, hearing her voice without the desperate gasping. Emma wanted that more than she wanted to admit. One visit, she said finally. I'll visit her once. But no money. No paying off my debts. Nothing. I see Sophia. Make sure she's okay. And then we go back to our separate lives. Alessandro smiled. It was subtle, barely there, but genuine. Agreed. Emma knew she was being manipulated. Knew this man was dangerous. Knew accepting anything from him was a mistake. But the thought of seeing Sophia, of knowing she was really alive and healing. Emma took the envelope from the seat, opened it. Inside was cash. More cash than she'd ever seen in one place. $50,000 in neat, organized bills. She closed it and handed it back. No. Alessandro didn't take it. Keep it, even if you don't spend it. Keep it as a safety net. A backup plan. I don't need. Everyone needs a backup plan, Emma. His voice was suddenly serious. The world is cruel to people with no safety net. You of all people should know that. Emma hated that he was right. Hated that this stranger saw her vulnerability so clearly. When can I see Sophia? She asked, changing the subject. Tomorrow. I'll send a car for you. I can take the subway. No. Alessandro's voice became firm. You're under my protection now. That means you don't take the subway alone. You don't walk through bad neighborhoods at night. You don't put yourself at risk. I'm not under your protection. We agreed I'd visit Sophia once. And after that visit, we'll discuss what comes next. There is no what comes next. I visit Sophia, you thank me, we're done. Alessandro's smile was small, knowing. We'll see. Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket. Her break was over. Jerry would be annoyed she'd been gone so long. I need to get back to work, she said. Of course, Alessandro signaled, and Marco immediately opened the door from outside. Marco will give you the details for tomorrow. Visiting hours start at 10. Be ready at 9:30. Emma climbed out of the SUV, her legs unsteady. The envelope was still in her hand. She'd meant to leave it in the car, but somehow she was holding it. She looked back at Alessandro. He watched her through the open door, his expression unreadable. Thank you, he said simply. For my daughter. For everything. Before Emma could respond, Marco closed the door. The SUV pulled away from the curb, disappearing into Manhattan traffic. Emma stood on the sidewalk, holding $50,000, her mind spinning. Jerry appeared in the diner doorway. You okay, kid? Yeah. Emma's voice sounded distant even to her own ears. Yeah, I'm fine. She went back inside, tucked the envelope into her purse in the back room, and finished her shift. But nothing was fine. Nothing would ever be fine again. Alessandro Marcetti had decided she was his responsibility, had decided she belonged to him, and men like that didn't change their minds. Emma didn't sleep that night. She lay in her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, the envelope of cash burning a hole in her consciousness from where she'd hidden it under her mattress. $50,000. Life-changing money. Money that could fix everything. But taking it felt like selling something she couldn't afford to lose. Her independence, her autonomy, herself. At 9:15 a.m., a knock on her door made her jump. Emma looked through the peephole. Marco stood in the hallway, patient and professional. She opened the door. I said 9:30. Traffic can be unpredictable. Mr. Marcetti prefers punctuality. Marco's expression was neutral. Are you ready? Emma looked down at her outfit. Jeans, a clean sweater, her only pair of boots that didn't have holes. This was as ready as she'd ever be. Let's go, she said. The drive to Mount Sinai took 20 minutes. Marco didn't try to make conversation, which Emma appreciated. She needed silence to prepare herself for seeing Sophia again. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and desperation. Marco led Emma through corridors, past nurses' stations, toward the private wing, the kind of rooms that cost thousands per night. They stopped outside a door marked with Sophia's name. She's been waiting for you, Marco said quietly. Then he stepped back, giving Emma space. Emma took a deep breath and knocked softly. Come in, a young voice called out, bright and hopeful. Emma pushed open the door. The room was large, filled with flowers, balloons, stuffed animals. Sophia sat propped up in the hospital bed, her dark curls spread across the pillow. She looked better, healthier, the bluish tint gone from her lips. When she saw Emma, her entire face lit up. The singing lady! Sophia tried to sit up further but winced. Easy, sweetheart. Emma crossed the room quickly, instinct taking over. Don't hurt yourself. You came. Papa said you would, but I wasn't sure if you'd really come. Emma sat in the chair beside the bed, her heart squeezing. Of course I came. I wanted to make sure you're okay. I'm much better. The doctors fixed my heart. Sophia reached out, her small hand finding Emma's. Thank you for saving me, for singing to me. I was so scared, but you made it better. Emma's eyes burned with tears. You were so brave, Sophia. The bravest girl I've ever met. Papa says you're an angel, that God sent you to save me. I'm not an angel. I'm just Emma. Just Emma is my favorite person. Sophia squeezed Emma's hand. Will you sing to me again? The same song? Emma's throat tightened, but she nodded, and began singing softly, the lullaby her mother had taught her so many years ago. Sophia closed her eyes, smiling, peaceful. The door opened quietly. Emma glanced up. Alessandro stood in the doorway, watching them. His expression was unguarded for once, vulnerable. He looked at his daughter, safe and smiling, and then at Emma, and something in his face shifted. Recognition, understanding, decision. Emma's breath caught. She saw it happen, saw the exact moment Alessandro Marcetti looked at her and decided she wasn't going anywhere. Not a decision based on gratitude. Something deeper. Something that terrified Emma more than anything else. Papa, Sophia called out. Emma's here. She's singing to me. I can see that, Piccola. Alessandro entered the room, his presence filling the space. He looked at Emma. Thank you for coming. Of course. Emma released Sophia's hand gently. I should probably go. Let you rest. No. Sophia's voice was panicked. Please don't go yet. Stay a little longer? Emma looked at Alessandro, asking permission silently. He nodded. Stay, please. So Emma stayed. She sat beside Sophia's bed and told her stories about working at the diner, about the funny customers and the grumpy cook who secretly had a heart of gold. She made Sophia laugh, which made Alessandro smile. An hour passed, then two. Emma forgot to be scared, forgot to be cautious. She just existed in this moment, with this child who trusted her, in this bubble where nothing else mattered. Eventually, Sophia's eyes started to droop. The medications made her tired. Sleep, sweetheart, Emma said softly. I'll visit again if you want. Promise? Sophia mumbled, already half asleep. I promise. Sophia smiled and drifted off. Emma stood carefully, trying not to wake her. She turned to leave and found Alessandro standing right behind her. We need to talk, he said quietly. Outside. Emma followed him into the hallway. Marco was gone, giving them privacy. Alessandro led her to a small waiting room, empty and quiet. Sophia loves you, he said without preamble. In the 3 days since she woke up, you're all she talks about. the singing lady who saved her, the kind woman who made her feel safe. She's easy to love, Emma said honestly. So are you, apparently. Alessandro's eyes were intense. My daughter has never connected with someone so quickly. Not her teachers, not her nannies, not anyone. But you? You're special to her. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to hire you. Alessandro crossed his arms. Full-time. To help with Sophia's care and recovery. She trusts you. That's worth more than any medical degree. Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm not a nurse. I'm a janitor and a waitress. You're someone my daughter feels safe with. Someone who'd risk everything for her without thinking twice. Alessandro stepped closer. Name your price. There is no price. I'm not for sale. Everyone has a price. Emma. Not me. Emma held her ground, even though he was close enough now that she could smell his cologne, see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. I don't belong in your world. I don't know how to be around people like you. People like me? Dangerous people. Powerful people. People who think money solves everything. Alessandro's jaw tightened. You think I'm dangerous? I know you are. Emma didn't back down. I see how people look at you, how they move around you. I'm not stupid, Mr. Marcetti. I know you're more than just a businessman. Silence stretched between them. Alessandro's expression was unreadable. You're right, he said finally. I am dangerous. And powerful. And I do think money solves most problems. He paused. But not this one. Money can't make you care about Sophia. You already do. That doesn't mean I should work for you. No. But it means you should consider it. Alessandro pulled out his phone, showed her a picture. It was Sophia in the hospital bed, smiling at something off camera. She has a long recovery ahead. Physical therapy, restricted activities, a lot of time feeling scared and vulnerable. The doctors, the nurses, they're professionals, but they're not you. Emma stared at the photo. Sophia looked so small, so fragile. She needs someone who makes her feel safe, Alessandro continued. Someone who sees her as a person, not a patient. Someone she trusts. She barely knows me. She knows enough. Sometimes trust isn't about time. It's about moments. Alessandro's voice softened. You gave her the most important moment of her life. That creates a bond. Emma wanted to say no, wanted to walk away from this man, this life, this complication. But she thought about Sophia's smile, about how her small hand had gripped Emma's, about how she'd asked Emma to promise she'd come back. What would the job entail? Emma heard herself ask. Alessandro's expression shifted. Triumph, carefully controlled. Living in the house, being available for Sophia whenever she needs you, helping with her daily routine, her recovery exercises, keeping her company. You'd have your own suite, full room and board, healthcare, and a salary. How much? 100,000 a year. Emma's knees nearly buckled. That was more than she made at both jobs combined. Times 3. That's insane. That's what you're worth to my daughter, to me. Alessandro watched her carefully. You could quit both your jobs, sleep in a real bed, eat actual meals, have time to breathe. It sounded like heaven. It sounded like a trap. I need time to think, Emma said. Take all the time you need. Alessandro pulled out a business card, his personal number, not an office line. Call me when you decide. But Emma? Yes. Don't take too long. Sophia comes home in a week. I'd like you there when she does. Emma took the card. Her hand shook slightly. They walked back to Sophia's room. The little girl was still sleeping, peaceful and safe. Alessandro stood beside his daughter's bed, his hand resting gently on her head. The fierce, dangerous man transformed into a father, tender and protective. Emma saw it then. This wasn't about owing a debt or buying her cooperation. This was about a man who'd almost lost his child and would do anything, pay anything, to make sure she was happy and safe. And Sophia wanted Emma. I'll think about it, Emma said quietly. Alessandro looked up, met her eyes. That's all I ask. Marco appeared to drive Emma home. The ride back to Queens was silent, Emma's mind spinning with impossible decisions. When she got back to her apartment, she pulled out the envelope from under her mattress. $50,000. More money than she'd ever seen. Alessandro was offering twice that, every year, plus room and board, plus health care. Emma could stop struggling, could stop being exhausted and broke and terrified, could have stability, security, a future. All she had to do was step into Alessandro Marcetti's world and accept that she belonged to him now. Emma sat on her bed, staring at the money, and wondered if she was brave enough to say yes, or smart enough to say no. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Emma gave her notice at both jobs the next day. Jerry at the diner took it well. Can't say I blame you, kid. Chance like this doesn't come twice. Her supervisor at Sterling Tower was less understanding. You're walking away from a steady job for what? Playing nanny to some rich man's kid? Something like that, Emma said, and didn't elaborate. The truth was more complicated. She'd spent 3 sleepless nights weighing her options, and every path led back to the same conclusion. She couldn't walk away from Sophia, couldn't forget that small hand gripping hers, that trust in those dark eyes, that voice asking Emma to promise she'd come back. So she called Alessandro's number at 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning. He answered on the first ring. Emma, I'll take the job, she said before she could change her mind. But I have conditions. Name them. His voice was alert, focused. He'd been awake, waiting for her call. First, this is about Sophia. Only Sophia. I'm there for her, not for you, not for your business, not for whatever else happens in that house. Agreed. Second, if at any point I feel uncomfortable or unsafe, I can leave. No questions, no consequences. A pause. Then, agreed. Though I promise you'll always be safe under my roof. Third, my relationship with Sophia comes first. If you ever ask me to do something that I think would hurt her or compromise her well-being, I say no, and my no means no. Another pause, longer this time. You want veto power over my parenting decisions? I want the freedom to advocate for what's best for Sophia without fear of being fired. Emma's voice was steady. Take it or leave it. Alessandro laughed, low and genuine. You're either very brave or very foolish, Emma Cole. Maybe both. All right. Your conditions are accepted. Marco will pick you up tomorrow at noon. Pack everything you need. You're moving in. Tomorrow? That's... Sophia comes home tomorrow afternoon. I want you settled before she arrives. His tone left no room for argument. Unless that's a problem? Emma looked around her tiny studio apartment. At the cracked ceiling, the broken heater, the water stain in the corner she'd stopped noticing. Everything she owned fit in 3 boxes and 2 suitcases. No problem, she said. I'll be ready. She hung up and immediately wondered what she'd just agreed to. The Marcetti estate wasn't in Manhattan. It was in Westchester County, 40 minutes north of the city, hidden behind iron gates and tall stone walls that looked like they belonged to a fortress. Marco drove through the gates without slowing. Security cameras tracked their progress. Emma counted at least 6 men stationed around the property, all wearing earpieces, all watching everything. Mr. Marcetti takes security seriously, Marco said, noticing her attention, especially now, after what happened with Sophia. What did happen? Emma asked. She said she wandered off from her nanny, but not my story to tell. Marco's expression closed off. Mr. Marcetti will explain when he's ready. The house, no. The mansion appeared at the end of a tree-lined drive. It was massive, elegant, built from cream-colored stone with tall windows and a grand entrance. Gardens stretched in every direction, meticulously maintained. A fountain bubbled in the circular driveway. Emma's stomach twisted with anxiety. This was a mistake. She didn't belong here. She was a janitor from Queens, not someone who lived in places like this. But then she thought of Sophia's smile, and she pushed down the fear. Marco parked and helped her with her bags. A housekeeper met them at the entrance. An older woman with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. You must be Emma. I'm Mrs. Chen. I manage the household. She had a slight accent, Chinese perhaps, and a warm smile. Mr. Marcetti asked me to show you to your rooms. Rooms, plural. Mrs. Chen led Emma through the mansion. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost more than Emma's entire life. Staff moved through the hallways with quiet efficiency maids, security, people whose jobs Emma couldn't even guess. They climbed a curved staircase to the 2nd floor. Mrs. Chen stopped at a door near the end of the hallway. Your suite, she said, opening the door. Emma stepped inside and her breath caught. It wasn't a room, it was an apartment. A sitting area with a couch and television, A bedroom with a massive 4-poster bed, a bathroom with a soaking tub and separate shower, and a walk-in closet bigger than her entire studio apartment had been. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens. Sunlight poured in, warm and golden. Fresh flowers sat on the dresser. The bed was made with linens that looked softer than clouds. "This is too much," Emma whispered. "Mr. Marcetti wanted you comfortable." "Mrs." Chen gestured to a connecting door. "That leads to Sophia's room. She requested you be close by." Emma walked to the connecting door, touched the handle. On the other side was Sophia. "Soon. Lunch is at 1, Mrs. Chen continued. "Mr. Marcetti will join you. Sophia arrives at 3. Do you need anything?" "No, thank you." Emma's voice was unsteady. "Mrs. Chen smiled gently. "You'll do fine here, dear. Sophia is lucky to have you." After she left, Emma stood in the center of her new room and tried to process everything. This was real. She lived here now. In this mansion, with Alessandro Marcetti and his daughter. She unpacked her meager belongings, feeling almost embarrassed by how little she had. Her clothes looked shabby, hanging in the enormous closet. Her toiletries seemed cheap on the marble bathroom counter. But this was who she was. And if Alessandro had a problem with it, he could knock interrupted her thoughts. Emma opened the door. Alessandro stood in the hallway, dressed more casually than she'd seen him before. Dark jeans, a black sweater, no tie. He looked younger this way, less intimidating, almost. "Settling in?" he asked. "It's a lot to take in. You'll get used to it." He gestured down the hallway. "Walk with me?" Emma followed him through the mansion. He showed her Sophia's room painted soft lavender with stars on the ceiling, filled with books and toys and evidence of a well-loved child. He showed her the library, the media room, the indoor pool that would be important for Sophia's physical therapy. "We have a medical team that comes 3 times a week," Alessandro explained as they walked through the gardens. "Physical therapist, occupational therapist, and a nurse. But you're not expected to do medical care, just companionship, comfort, being there when she's scared or frustrated or sad." "I can do that," Emma said. Alessandro stopped walking. They stood beside the fountain, water splashing softly behind them. He studied her face with that intense focus that made Emma feel exposed. "Why did you really say yes?" he asked. "I told you, for Sophia. That's part of it, but not all." He stepped closer. "You could have taken the 50,000 and disappeared, started over somewhere else. Instead, you came here, to my home, accepting a job that ties you to us for at least a year. Maybe I'm just practical. The salary is good." "You're not here for money, Emma." His voice was soft, certain. "You're here because you care, because you can't walk away from someone who needs you." Emma wanted to deny it, but he was right, and they both knew it. "Is that a problem?" she asked. "No." Alessandro's expression shifted, something warm flickering in his dark eyes. "It makes you perfect for this job, and it makes you dangerous to me." "Dangerous how?" He didn't answer, just looked at her for a long moment, then turned away. "Come on, lunch is ready, and Sophia will be here soon." Sophia arrived at 3:17 p.m. in a medical transport van equipped for children with cardiac conditions. Emma watched from the front steps as nurses helped her out, as Alessandro lifted his daughter carefully, as Sophia's eyes scanned the property looking for something, looking for someone. "Emma!" Sophia's face lit up when she spotted her. "You're really here!" "I'm really here!" Emma came down the steps, mindful of the medical equipment, the nurses hovering protectively. "Welcome home, sweetheart. Papa said you're staying, that you're going to help me get better." "That's the plan." Sophia reached out, her small hand finding Emma's. "I'm so happy you're here." Emma squeezed gently. "Me too." They moved inside, a slow procession. Alessandro carried Sophia up to her room, the nurses fussing over monitors and medications. Emma stayed back, giving them space, trying not to intrude on family moments. But Sophia kept looking for her, kept asking where Emma was, kept reaching out. "I'm here," Emma said softly, appearing in the doorway. "I'm not going anywhere." The relief on Sophia's face was unmistakable. It took hours to get Sophia settled. The nurses went over care instructions, medication schedules, warning signs to watch for. Alessandro listened intently, asking questions, taking notes. Emma stood nearby, absorbing information, preparing herself for the responsibility ahead. Finally, the nurses left. Mrs. Chen brought up a light dinner, and it was just the three of them, Alessandro, Emma, and Sophia. "Will you eat with me?" Sophia asked Emma. "Please?" Emma glanced at Alessandro. He nodded. So Emma sat beside Sophia's bed, while the little girl picked at her soup. She wasn't very hungry, exhausted from the trip home, but she smiled every time she looked at Emma. "Tell me a story," Sophia requested. "A happy one." Emma thought for a moment, then began. "Once upon a time, there was a very brave princess who lived in a castle. She wove a tale of adventure and courage, of a princess who saved herself instead of waiting to be rescued." Sophia listened, enthralled, occasionally adding her own details. "And the princess has a friend?" Sophia interrupted. "A singing lady who teaches her to be brave." Emma's throat tightened. "Yes, a singing lady who loves her very much." "Like you love me?" Sophia's voice was innocent, hopeful. Emma looked at this child, this small person who'd been through so much, who trusted her completely. "Yes," she whispered. "Like I love you." Sophia beamed. Alessandro, standing by the window, turned away quickly, but not before Emma saw his expression something raw and vulnerable and grateful. When Sophia finally fell asleep, Emma stood carefully. Her legs were stiff from sitting so long. Alessandro walked her to the connecting door. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for being exactly what she needs." "She's easy to love," Emma said, echoing her words from the hospital. "So are you." Alessandro said it softly, almost to himself. Then, before Emma could respond, "Get some rest. Tomorrow starts early with her morning medications." He left before Emma could process what he'd said. She went to her room, changed into pajamas, and collapsed on the impossibly soft bed. Her body sank into mattress and pillows that felt like sleeping on clouds. This was her life now. This mansion, this family, this dangerous, complicated man who looked at her like she was something precious. Emma closed her eyes and tried not to think about how quickly her heart had started racing when Alessandro said she was easy to love. Tried not to think about how much she wanted him to mean it. The first week passed in a blur of routines and adjustments. Emma woke early to help Sophia with morning medications. They ate breakfast together. Sophia loved pancakes shaped like animals. Then came physical therapy sessions where Emma learned to support Sophia's exercises without doing too much for her. "She needs to build strength," the physical therapist explained. "But gently. Her heart can't handle strain yet." Emma was fiercely protective during therapy. She watched for signs of fatigue, advocated for breaks when Sophia looked tired, and cheered every small victory. Alessandro watched from the doorway sometimes, his expression unreadable. Afternoons were quieter. Emma read to Sophia, or they worked on art projects, or watched movies curled up on the couch. Sophia talked endlessly about her friends at school, about wanting a dog, about how her mama had died when she was 4 and she barely remembered her, but Papa said she had her mama's eyes. Emma listened to everything, filing away details, learning this child she was growing to love. Evenings were family dinner time. Alessandro always joined them, no matter how busy his day. He'd shed his business persona, becoming softer around Sophia, making her laugh with silly voices and gentle teasing. Sometimes he looked at Emma during these dinners. Long looks that made her skin warm, that made her forget to breathe. Mrs. Chen noticed. "He looks at you different," she said one morning while Emma helped prep breakfast. "Not like an employee. It's just gratitude," Emma said quickly. Mrs. Chen smiled knowingly but said nothing. On day 8, everything changed. Emma woke to shouting, loud, angry voices from somewhere in the mansion. She threw on a robe and rushed to Sophia's room. The little girl was awake, trembling, hands over her ears. "It's okay," Emma said, climbing into bed beside her. "You're safe. I'm here." "Papa's angry," Sophia whispered. "He gets like this sometimes, when the bad men call." "What bad men?" Before Sophia could answer, Alessandro burst into the room. His face was dark with fury, his jaw clenched so tight Emma could see the muscle jumping. Blood stained his knuckles. "Papa?" Sophia's voice was small, frightened. Alessandro stopped immediately. His expression shifted, fury transforming to concern. "I'm sorry, Piccola. I didn't mean to scare you. What happened?" Emma asked, standing between Alessandro and Sophia instinctively. Alessandro's eyes met hers. "Not now. Stay with Sophia. Keep her calm. Don't let her leave this room." "Alessandro, please, Emma." His voice was raw. Just trust me." Then he was gone, the door closing behind him. Emma heard more shouting, doors slamming, the sound of vehicles outside. Sophia started crying. "They're going to hurt Papa. The bad men always try to hurt Papa." Emma held her close, singing softly, trying to drown out the sounds of whatever was happening below. Her mind raced with questions, with fear, with the sudden, terrifying understanding that she'd stepped into something far more dangerous than she'd realized. This wasn't just about a sick child and a grateful father. This was about power and violence, and enemies who wanted Alessandro dead. And Emma was right in the middle of it. An hour later, Marco appeared at the door. His face was grim. "Boss wants to see you. Downstairs, his office." "I can't leave, Sophia. Mrs. Chen is here." The housekeeper slipped past Marco, moving immediately to Sophia's side. "I've got her, dear. You go." Emma followed Marco through the mansion. They passed men in suits, all armed, all tense. Blood stained the marble floor in the entrance hall. Someone was cleaning it quickly, efficiently. Marco led her to a door at the end of the east wing. He knocked once, then opened it. Alessandro's office was dark, masculine, filled with expensive furniture and walls lined with books. Alessandro stood by the window, his back to the door. He'd changed clothes, the blood-stained shirt was gone, replaced with a clean black t-shirt that showed the defined muscles of his back and shoulders. "Leave us," Alessandro said without turning. Marco left, closing the door behind him. Silence stretched. Emma waited, her heart hammering. Finally, Alessandro turned. His knuckles were cleaned but bruised. A cut above his eye had been bandaged. He looked exhausted, dangerous, and something else Emma couldn't name. "You deserve the truth," he said. "About who I really am, what I really do." Emma's mouth went dry. "Okay. I'm not just a businessman." Alessandro's voice was flat, controlled. "Marcetti Enterprises is legitimate construction, real estate, imports. But there's another side, one the public doesn't see. The Mafia," Emma said quietly. Alessandro's eyebrows raised slightly. "You knew?" "I suspected. The security, the way people look at you, the way Marco and the others act." Emma wrapped her arms around herself. "What happened tonight? A rival family, the Costanzos. They've been pushing into my territory for months. Tonight they made a move, tried to hit one of my warehouses." His jaw clenched. "I sent a message that I won't tolerate further aggression. The blood in the hallway? Not mine, not my men's." Alessandro's eyes were cold. "The Costanzos sent 3 men. 2 left on stretchers, 1 left in a body bag." Emma should have been horrified, should have run, but all she could think about was Sophia, trembling and terrified, asking if the bad men would hurt her papa. "Is this why Sophia was targeted?" Emma asked. "The kidnapping attempt. It wasn't random." Alessandro's expression cracked. Pain bled through. "The Costanzos wanted leverage. My daughter was an easy target. I'd been careless, complacent. I never thought they'd go after a child. But they did. They did." He moved closer, stopping just in front of Emma. "And you saved her. You threw yourself into danger for a stranger's child without knowing what you were walking into." "I couldn't let them take her." "I know. Which is why you're in danger now, too." Alessandro's voice dropped. "The Costanzos know you saved Sophia. They know you're here, in my house, with my daughter. That makes you a target." Emma's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I can't let you leave. Not now. Not until this is resolved." His hand came up, cupped her face gently. "I'm saying you're under my protection whether you want it or not, because I will not lose anyone else I care about." Emma's breath caught. "You care about me? More than I should." Alessandro's thumb traced her cheekbone. "More than is safe, more than is smart." They stood frozen, inches apart, the air between them electric. Emma should pull away, should maintain professional distance, should remember this was her employer, a dangerous man, someone she barely knew. But she didn't move. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Good. Fear keeps you alive in my world." Alessandro's other hand came up, framing her face. "But I swear to you, Emma, I will protect you, with everything I have, with my life if necessary." "Don't say that." "Why not? It's true." His forehead touched hers. "You walked into my life and changed everything. Saved my daughter, made my house feel like a home. Made me remember what it feels like to care about something beyond power and territory." Emma's hands came up, gripping his wrists. She should push him away. She should. The door burst open. Marco stood in the doorway, his face urgent. Boss, we have a situation. Costanzo is calling for a sit-down. Tonight. Alessandro straightened immediately, the tender moment shattered. His expression became cold, calculating. Where? Neutral ground. The club on 40th. He's bringing 5 men. Wants to negotiate. It's a trap. Probably. Marco's expression was grim. But if you don't show, he'll take it as weakness. Might escalate. Alessandro's jaw clenched. He looked at Emma, something like regret in his eyes. I have to go. Then go, Emma said, even though everything in her wanted to beg him to stay. But come back. Sophia needs you. Just Sophia? His voice was low, intimate despite Marco's presence. Emma met his gaze. No, not just Sophia. Alessandro smiled, brief but genuine. Then he turned to Marco. Assemble the team. Heavy weapons, full tactical gear. If Costanzo wants a war, we'll give him one. He looked back at Emma one more time. Lock Sophia's door from the inside. Don't open it for anyone but me or Mrs. Chen. Understand? Emma nodded, fear coiling in her stomach. I'll come back, Alessandro said. It sounded like a promise. I always come back. Then he was gone, Marco with him, leaving Emma alone in the office. She stood there for a long moment, trying to process everything. The danger, the violence, the way Alessandro had looked at her, the way his touch had made her skin burn. She was falling for him, for a man who killed people, for a man whose world was built on fear and blood. And despite everything, Emma couldn't bring herself to regret it. She went back to Sophia's room. The little girl was asleep, Mrs. Chen sitting in a chair nearby. He'll be fine, the housekeeper said softly. Mr. Marcetti always comes back. What if this time is different? Emma whispered. Mrs. Chen smiled sadly. Then we pray. And we protect this little girl. That's all we can do. Emma climbed into bed beside Sophia, holding her close. Outside, engines roared. Vehicles left the estate. Alessandro and his men, driving into the night to face enemies who wanted him dead. Emma stared at the ceiling and waited, and prayed, and tried not to think about what she'd do if Alessandro didn't come back. 4 hours later, the sound of vehicles returning woke Emma from an uneasy sleep. She slipped out of Sophia's bed carefully and went to the window. Black SUVs pulled into the circular driveway. Men emerged, moving quickly. Emma counted, her heart in her throat. Then she saw him. Alessandro, alive, walking under his own power, blood on his clothes but moving fine, talking to Marco, gesturing toward the house. Relief flooded through Emma so powerfully her knees weakened. He was alive. He came back. She watched as Alessandro looked up at the mansion. Even from this distance, even in the darkness, she felt his gaze land on Sophia's window. On her, Alessandro lifted his hand. A small gesture, barely there. Emma pressed her palm against the glass. A promise made and kept. He'd come back, just like he said he would. Emma returned to bed, curling around Sophia. Her mind spun with questions, with fears, with the undeniable truth she could no longer ignore. She was in love with Alessandro Marcetti, with a mafia boss, a killer, a dangerous man who lived in a world of violence and blood. And somehow, despite everything that felt right, tomorrow would bring new challenges, more danger, more complications. But tonight, Alessandro was alive, Sophia was safe, and Emma was exactly where she needed to be, in the heart of the storm, protecting the people she loved. Even if loving them might destroy her, Emma woke to sunlight streaming through Sophia's windows and the sound of soft breathing beside her. The little girl was still asleep, curled against Emma's side like she belonged there. For a moment, Emma let herself exist in the peace of it. No fear, no questions, just this quiet morning with a child she'd come to love. Then reality crashed back. Alessandro, the meeting, the blood on his clothes. Emma carefully extracted herself from Sophia's embrace and slipped into her own room through the connecting door. She needed to shower, to change, to prepare herself for whatever came next. But when she opened her door to head downstairs, she found Alessandro leaning against the wall opposite, arms crossed, waiting. He looked exhausted. His clothes were different, he'd showered and changed, but the cut above his eye was more visible now in the morning light. His knuckles were wrapped in fresh bandages. "You're awake," he said softly. "So are you. Did you sleep at all?" "No." Alessandro pushed off the wall. Too much to process, too much to plan. Emma stepped into the hallway, closing the door quietly behind her. What happened at the meeting? Walk with me. He gestured toward the stairs. They walked through the mansion in silence. Staff were already moving through the house cleaning, preparing breakfast, maintaining the illusion of normalcy. But Emma saw the increased security, the men stationed at every entrance, the tension in every face. Alessandro led her to the gardens. The morning air was cool, crisp with autumn. They walked past flower beds, around the fountain, toward a secluded bench beneath a willow tree. The Costanzos want peace, Alessandro said once they were seated. Or at least, that's what they claim. You don't believe them? I believe they want something. Peace might be part of it. He stretched his legs out, wincing slightly. Victor Costanzo, their patriarch, offered a truce. He withdraws from my territory. I stop interfering with his operations on the docks. That sounds reasonable? It would be, if I trusted him. Alessandro's jaw clenched. But the man who ordered the hit on Sophia was Victor's nephew, Marcus. Victor claims it was unauthorized, that Marcus acted alone out of ambition and stupidity. Do you believe that? I believe Marcus is dead now. Victor made sure of that. Alessandro's voice was flat. He had him killed during the meeting, right there in front of everyone. Called it justice for dishonoring the family code by targeting a child. Emma's stomach turned. He killed his own nephew? To prove a point. To show me he takes this seriously. Alessandro turned to look at her. It's how this world works, Emma. Brutal. Final. No room for sentiment or mercy. Is that how you work too? Alessandro was quiet for a long moment. I used to think so. Before Sophia, I was colder, more ruthless. My father raised me to see emotions as weaknesses, attachments as vulnerabilities to be exploited. What changed? Sophia's mother died. His voice roughened. Cardiac arrest. Sudden and devastating. 1 minute Isabella was laughing at breakfast, the next she was gone. Sophia was only 4. She didn't understand why her mama wasn't coming back. Emma's heart ached. I'm sorry. That's when I understood. Alessandro's hands clenched. All the power, all the money, all the territory, none of it mattered. I couldn't save the person I loved. Couldn't protect Sophia from that pain. My father's philosophy about emotion being weakness? It was wrong. Dead wrong. So you changed. I tried to. Started separating the business from family. Built this estate as a sanctuary. Hired Mrs. Chen, people I could trust. Tried to give Sophia a normal life. He laughed bitterly. And then the Costanzos went after her anyway. Proved that no matter how hard I tried, my world would always touch her. Would always put her at risk. But she's safe now, Emma said. You protected her. You protected her. Alessandro turned fully toward Emma, his intensity focused entirely on her. If you hadn't been there, if you hadn't fought for her, Sophia would be dead or in Costanzo hands. I owe you everything, Emma. More than I can ever repay. You don't owe me anything. I owe you the truth. He reached out, took her hand carefully. The truce with the Costanzos is temporary. Maybe it holds, maybe it doesn't. But either way, danger will always be part of my life. Anyone close to me, anyone I care about, becomes a target. Emma's breath caught. Alessandro, I'm saying this because you deserve to know what you're choosing. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Staying here, caring for Sophia, being part of this family, it means accepting the risk. It means living with security, with guards, with the knowledge that enemies might come for you to hurt me. I already knew that, Emma said softly. I figured it out days ago. And you stayed anyway. I stayed for Sophia. Just Sophia? Alessandro's eyes searched hers. Emma's heart hammered. This was the moment. The point where she could retreat, maintain professional distance, protect herself. But she was so tired of being scared, so tired of playing it safe. No, she whispered. Not just Sophia. Alessandro's expression shifted. Relief, desire, something fierce and possessive. Emma, I know this is complicated, Emma said quickly. I know I'm supposed to be the employee, that there are boundaries, that this is probably the worst idea either of us has ever had. But I can't pretend I don't care about you. I can't pretend that when you left last night, I wasn't terrified you wouldn't come back. Emma. Alessandro cupped her face with both hands. I've been trying to stay away from you, trying to keep this professional, because you deserve better than this life, better than me. What if I don't want better? What if I want this? You, Sophia, This strange, dangerous, beautiful life we're building? Then you're either very brave or completely insane. Maybe both, Emma said, echoing their first conversation. Alessandro smiled. Then, slowly, giving her time to pull away, he leaned forward and kissed her. It was gentle at first, soft, testing, asking permission. Emma's hands came up to grip his shirt, pulling him closer, answering with her own desperate need. The kiss deepened. Alessandro's arms wrapped around her, holding her like she was precious, like she was his. Emma melted into him, into this moment, into the rightness of finally admitting what had been building between them for weeks. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Alessandro pressed his forehead to hers. "You're mine now," he said softly. "That means I protect you. That means anyone who tries to hurt you answers to me. That means your family. Alessandro, I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but when you've almost lost everything, you learn not to waste time on pretending." His hands tightened on her. "I'm falling in love with you, Emma Cole, and I need you to know that before this goes any further." Emma's eyes burned with tears. "I'm already in love with you. Have been since you looked at Sophia in that hospital bed like she was your entire world." Alessandro kissed her again, deeper this time, with all the pent-up emotion and desire they'd both been denying. "Papa?" They broke apart instantly. Sophia stood on the garden path, Mrs. Chen hovering behind her with an apologetic expression. "She woke up and wanted to find you both." "Mrs. Chen said. "I tried to suggest breakfast first, but—" "Papa's kissing Emma!" Sophia's face split into a huge grin. "Does that mean Emma is staying forever?" Alessandro looked at Emma, his expression both amused and sincere. "That depends on Emma." Sophia rushed forward as fast as her recovering body would allow. She grabbed Emma's hand. "Please stay forever. Please. I love you. Papa loves you. We need you." Emma looked at this little girl, at this man, at this life she'd stumbled into by accident and stayed in by choice. "Forever sounds good," she said. Sophia squealed with joy. Alessandro's smile was brilliant, transforming his usually serious face into something younger, lighter. "Come on." Sophia tugged at Emma's hand. "We need to have a celebration breakfast, with pancakes and Mrs. Chen's special hot chocolate." They walked back to the mansion together, Alessandro's arm around Emma's waist, Sophia chattering excitedly about wedding plans and whether Emma would wear a white dress or a blue one like a princess. Emma caught Mrs. Chen's eye. The housekeeper smiled knowingly and mouthed, "I told you so." Life didn't slow down after that morning. If anything, it intensified. The truce with the Costanzos held, but it was fragile. Alessandro increased security around the estate. Emma learned to live with guards following discreetly wherever she and Sophia went. She learned the safe rooms, the emergency protocols, the code words that meant danger was imminent, but she also learned joy. Sophia's recovery progressed beautifully. Within 2 months, she was back to running in the gardens, laughing without restraint, living life with the fearlessness of a child who'd been given a second chance. Emma became more than just Sophia's companion. She became a bridge between Alessandro's two worlds, the violent business he couldn't completely leave behind, and the family life he was building for his daughter. She sat in on meetings sometimes, offering perspectives Alessandro's men never considered. She organized charity events through Marcetti Enterprises, legitimate ventures that helped Alessandro distance himself from the darker aspects of his empire. And she loved him. Fiercely, completely, without reservation. 3 months after that kiss in the garden, Alessandro proposed. Not with a grand gesture, not with an elaborate plan. Just the two of them in Sophia's room after the little girl had fallen asleep, Emma's hand in his. "Marry me," he said simply. "Make this official. Make us a real family." Emma didn't hesitate. Yes. The ring he slipped on her finger was a simple, platinum band with a single diamond. Beautiful but not ostentatious. Perfect, they told Sophia the next morning. She cried happy tears and immediately started planning the wedding with Mrs. Chen, debating flower arrangements and cake flavors with an 8-year-old's serious dedication. The wedding itself was small, intimate, just family and close friends. No business associates, no territory displays, no ulterior motives. Just people who genuinely cared about Alessandro and Emma celebrating their union. Sophia was the flower girl, glowing with health and happiness. She took her job so seriously, carefully dropping rose petals and making sure each one was perfectly placed. When Alessandro lifted Emma's veil and kissed her, when the small gathering applauded, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in years. Complete. Not because a man had saved her, not because she'd escaped poverty, but because she'd found a family, found love, found a place where she belonged. 1 year after the wedding, Emma stood in the nursery she and Alessandro had prepared together. Soft yellow walls, white furniture, shelves full of books waiting to be read. Her hand rested on her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant. A little boy, according to the ultrasound. Sophia was beyond excited to be a big sister. Alessandro appeared in the doorway, his arms full of packages Mrs. Chen had accepted from a delivery truck. More baby clothes? Emma asked, amused. Sophia insisted. Alessandro set the packages down and crossed to Emma, his hands replacing hers on her belly. How are you feeling? Fat. Tired. Happy. You're beautiful. He kissed her forehead. The most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You're biased. Completely. Alessandro smiled, but also right. Their son kicked, a strong flutter against Emma's abdomen. Alessandro's face lit up the way it always did when he felt the baby move. He's going to be a fighter, Alessandro said. With you as a father? Definitely. And you as a mother? Brave, fierce, refusing to back down even when facing 3 armed men. Alessandro's voice was tender. Our children are going to be unstoppable. Children, plural. Emma smiled at the thought. They'd talked about it, building a real family, filling this massive house with love and laughter and life, giving Sophia siblings, giving their son a sister, creating something beautiful from the darkness of Alessandro's past. Papa, Emma. Sophia's voice echoed through the mansion. Come quick. Mrs. Chen made her special cookies. Alessandro and Emma shared a look, equal parts amusement and exasperation. Should we tell her that yelling through the house isn't ladylike? Alessandro asked. Probably. Will it work? Not even a little bit. They laughed and walked downstairs together, Alessandro's hand protectively on Emma's lower back. The kitchen was warm, filled with the smell of chocolate chip cookies, and Mrs. Chen's fond exasperation as Sophia tried to sneak cookies before they'd properly cooled. Patience, little one, Mrs. Chen chided gently. But they smell so good. Marco appeared in the doorway. Boss, sorry to interrupt. We have the quarterly reports ready for review. Later, Alessandro said without hesitation. Right now, I'm having cookies with my family. Marco blinked, surprised, then smiled. Of course, boss. This was the life they'd built. Business, balanced with family, danger mitigated by love. The sharp edges of Alessandro's world softened by Emma's presence and Sophia's laughter. It wasn't perfect. There were still threats, still enemies, still nights when Alessandro came home with blood on his knuckles and shadows in his eyes. But there were more nights like this. Simple moments of domestic joy. Cookies in the kitchen, Sophia's laughter, Emma's hand in Alessandro's, the promise of new life growing inside her. After cookies, Sophia insisted on a family movie. They piled onto the oversized couch in the media room. Sophia nestled between Emma and Alessandro, Mrs. Chen joining them with knitting in hand, even Marco lingering in the doorway before Sophia demanded he sit down too. Halfway through the movie, Sophia fell asleep, her head on Emma's lap. Alessandro draped a blanket over his daughter carefully. Thank you, he whispered to Emma. For what? For this. For her. For us. Alessandro's hand found Emma's across Sophia's sleeping form. For saving my life that night in the stairwell. I thought you just saved Sophia, but you saved me too. Reminded me what life was supposed to be about. Emma's eyes burned with tears. You saved me too. Gave me a family. A purpose. A home. We saved each other, Alessandro said. That's how love works. Emma squeezed his hand. On screen, the movie played on. Sophia snored softly. Mrs. Chen's knitting needles clicked rhythmically. Marco checked his phone quietly. This was everything Emma had never known she needed. Everything she'd been too afraid to dream about. She was a janitor who'd saved a dying child in a stairwell. And that single act of courage had led her here to love. To family. To a life beyond her wildest imagination. The Mafia boss and the humble woman. 2 worlds colliding. 2 hearts finding each other in the darkness. And somehow, against all odds, building something beautiful. Something worth fighting for. Something worth protecting. Forever. Epilogue, MIBAD. Epilogue, MIBAD. Emma Hope House. 5 years later. The grand opening of Hope House was everything Emma had dreamed of and more. The building stood in the heart of Queens, her old neighborhood, transformed from an abandoned warehouse into a community center. Inside were classrooms for job training, a medical clinic offering free healthcare, a food bank, and counseling services, all funded by Marcetti Enterprises, all inspired by Emma's vision of helping people who'd been where she once was struggling, alone, one crisis away from disaster. "Nervous?" Alessandro asked, his hand warm on her lower back. "Terrified," Emma admitted. They stood backstage, waiting for the ceremony to begin. Outside, she could hear the crowd gathering community members, local politicians, media, people whose lives would be changed by this place. Sophia appeared, now 13 and beautiful, with her mother's eyes and her father's determination. "Emma, they're ready for you." Emma took a deep breath. Beside her, 3-year-old Luca tugged at her dress. "Mama, why are there so many people?" "Because today is special, sweetheart." Emma picked up her youngest son, settling him on her hip. "We're opening a place that helps people who need it." "Like when you helped me?" Sophia asked softly. Emma's throat tightened. "Exactly like that." Their middle child, 2-year-old Isabella, named after Alessandro's late wife, a gesture of healing and hope, was already asleep in Mrs. Chen's arms backstage. "Ready?" Alessandro asked. Emma looked at her family, at the children she'd been blessed with, at the man who'd taken a chance on a janitor with a kind heart, at the life they'd built together from courage and love and refusal to accept that the world was only cruel. "Ready," she said. They walked on stage together. The crowd erupted in applause. Emma stepped to the microphone, her family beside her, and began to speak. "5 years ago, I was a janitor working 2 jobs, barely surviving. I was invisible, forgotten, one crisis away from homelessness." Her voice was steady, strong. "Then one night, I found a little girl in a stairwell. She was dying, terrified, alone, and I made a choice." Emma looked at Sophia, who smiled through tears. "I chose to help. To be present. To refuse to walk away from someone who needed me. That choice changed my life in ways I never could have imagined." Emma's eyes found Alessandro. "It brought me love, family, purpose, a second chance at life." She gestured to the building behind her. "Hope House exists because I understand what it's like to struggle, to feel invisible, to desperately need help but not know where to find it. This center will provide job training, healthcare, counseling, and support to anyone who walks through those doors. No judgment, no requirements, just help, just hope." The crowd applauded. Emma saw people crying, people she recognized from her old neighborhood, people who knew exactly what she'd overcome. "I'm not special," Emma continued. "I'm just someone who was given a second chance and wants to pass that forward, because everyone deserves hope. Everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves a chance to survive and thrive." She looked at her family one more time. "Thank you to my husband, Alessandro, for believing in this vision and making it possible. Thank you to my children for reminding me every day why this work matters. And thank you to everyone here today for being part of this community, this family, this hope." Emma stepped back. Sophia and Alessandro joined her at the ribbon stretched across the entrance. Together, they cut it. The doors opened, people flooded inside, and Hope House came alive with exactly what Emma had intended: people helping people, community supporting community, hope spreading like light in darkness. Alessandro pulled Emma close, kissed her temple. "I'm so proud of you." "We did this together," Emma said. "No, you dreamed it. You fought for it. I just provided the resources." Alessandro's voice was thick with emotion. "You're extraordinary, Emma Marcetti. Every single day, you remind me what really matters." Sophia took Luca's hand. "Come on, little brother. Let's go see the art room." Mrs. Chen followed with Isabella. Marco and the security team maintained discreet positions, ever watchful but less intrusive than they'd once been. Emma and Alessandro stood together, watching people explore Hope House, watching lives begin to change. "Do you ever regret it?" Alessandro asked quietly. "Choosing this life? This world?" Emma thought about the scared, broke janitor she'd once been. Thought about the terrified little girl in the stairwell. Thought about the dangerous Mafia boss who'd looked at her like she was precious. "Not once," she said. "Not for a single second." Alessandro smiled and pulled her closer. And Emma Marcetti, formerly Emma Cole, formerly invisible, formerly alone, looked at the life she'd built and felt complete. She'd saved a child in a stairwell, and in return, she'd been saved too. Not by money or power or rescue, but by love, by family, by choosing courage over fear, compassion over self-preservation, hope over despair. One bowl of soup had changed everything for Clara in that restaurant. One moment of bravery had changed everything for Emma in that stairwell. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest transformations. Sometimes being brave for someone else saves you too. And sometimes, when you least expect it, love finds you in the darkness and reminds you that you were never truly invisible at all. You were always seen, always valued, always enough. The janitor and the mafia boss, the humble woman and the powerful man. Two worlds that should never have collided, building something beautiful together. A family, a future, a legacy of hope. One brave choice at a time. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.